Hello, Internet! To my subscribed viewers, I want to say sorry that I've been offline so much. I have been really busy with my master's thesis. On the news side of things, I got chosen to be one of the official vloggers and bloggers for Society for Neuroscience annual meeting this year. And so, this is what I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to post this video to my YouTube channel. I'm also going to link it from my blog, which is an update of all of the activities that I went to. If you're from SfN and you're watching this video, it's more for if you don't want to read it. If you're like me, you're really tired at night, you're really tired from reading all the posters, you're really tired from reading all your papers, you don't really feel like reading some random kid's blog on what's happening in SfN. So this is a video kind of recapping what happened during the day when I went there and the big highlights that I kind of thought were really cool and where people seem to be gravitating towards poster-wise, because I mainly stuck with the posters and because there were so many and there was so much to see. Yeah, so this year at SfN there was this big introductory talk from some guy from Pixar. His name's Ed something. I'd feel bad if he was actually a good talker. The talk itself wasn't really directed to neuroscience. The idea was to talk about how creativity works and possibly how different environmental factors go into what causes creativity, and that was the point of bringing this guy from Pixar, who's pretty much the epitome of what creativity really is in our society, and talk about how he encourages creativity, and we would kind of bounce off of that as neuroscientists and be like, okay, well, this is how he does it. Let's see if we can define it scientifically. Problem is, he never really got around to defining it scientifically or even talking about it. He would kind of talk about it in a roundabout way. Like he talked about the social interactions that are involved in creativity, but he never really explicitly said anything about it. And so, as a result, if you missed that talk, you probably didn't miss much. But the idea itself was an interesting idea of what is creativity, what is creativity, and what is developing a new idea. Social dynamics affect it, how environmental, growing up factors, and how genetics even factor into creativity. It was a very interesting idea, and I think it kind of fell apart, which is really unfortunate. Watching anything against Ed from Pixar or SfN for choosing him, I think it was a really interesting idea, and I think it was just poorly executed. And that's not his fault necessarily, just because he's not a neuroscientist. So you can't really expect him to, talk to neuroscientists about the creativity process of neuroscience. It just doesn't make sense. But after that, the poster sessions opened at 1. And this is my first time at Society for Neuroscience annual conference, and if you've never been there, you, like me, are just going to be overwhelmed by the amount of posters and presentations at this conference. It's crazy how many people and posters are there, which is awesome. So I generally stuck towards the developmental neurobiology and toxicology and different environmental factors affecting your brain and behavior. And I also stuck a lot to cognitive behavior because that's kind of what I know, that's kind of what I'm interested in. So if you're not really interested in cognitive neurotoxicology, then you might not find anything interesting on this vlog. I'm sorry. Probably isn't the blog or video for you. I encourage you to check out the other blogs because that's what they're there for. If I can't really meet the needs that you have, maybe somebody else can. So I would recommend trying those out. I just kind of want to talk about the overall theme I got first. I saw a lot of animal model behavior work and molecular mechanisms of behavior. I saw a lot of rodent studies really trying to get at the molecular definition of a certain behavior. Of that, I would like to talk about a few of them that I thought that were really, really cool, and then we'll also talk about like general themes of what else was there and what else I saw and what else was really popular. Was the poster by Dr. Parent? I hope I'm saying that correctly. I really hope I am. I'm sorry if I mispronounce anybody's name or if I don't include your name because I didn't get it. If anybody is really interested in a certain subject or topic that I'm talking about and I forget to mention an author name, please email me or leave in the comments section, hey, you forgot to mention this person, who is it? And I will write back right away because I'm pretty sure I wrote down everybody's name. I'm sorry if I don't mention it and I get a little excited. First one I want to talk about was from Dr. Parent, and the title was Preemptive morphine analgesia prevents the impairing of effects of neonate inflammatory pain on adults' hippocampal-dependent memory and produces memory defects on non-injured rats. That's a mouthful, and if you're not really a scientist or you're not really a super rodent behavior scientist, that means pretty much nothing to you. So, in a breakdown, this is what it kind of means. Or this is what, she told me. Babies who were born premature are stuck in an ICU for an extended period of time, and they go through a lot of painful procedure that they're healthy and they're okay. What these people at Georgia State University did is they wanted to model that kind of pain that the child was experiencing and looking at any behavioral effects that that individual was having grown up. So they modeled it in rats, and they used carrageenan injection in the right paw, which, if you don't know what that means, that basically induces an inflammatory response, and it causes inflammatory pain. Now, the type of pain that the baby's feeling are not inflammatory necessarily. It's probably mostly mechanical stimuli and prodding and poking, but it's stress-inducing and it's causing some type of pain. So they modeled it by injecting carrageenan into baby rat paws, alone for a couple days to just kind of until the carrageenan wears off in 72 hours, and then they test their memory. What they found is that in adult rats that it didn't do anything, so on a memory at least. But what they did find is that it did affect middle-aged rats. So what I really liked about this study is that she then took another step and said, okay, well, how do we possibly treat this and get rid of the pain? She tried using morphine to treat the pain of the carrageenan in the younger rats to see if she could reverse this effect. Really brought out these effects by stressing the animals, and so this they caused pain when they were younger, and then they stressed them when they were older, like causing not direct stress and not anything that they could correlate stressful, but they stressed the mice by putting like a fox odor in a box or messing with the light-dark cycle, and then that really drastically affected their memory. It really affected the carrageenan rats in their adulthood. And what was really interesting is that the morphine seemed to reverse this effect. The memory impairment that they saw in the stressed carrageenan mice was reversed by morphine, but in the control mice with morphine that had not been stressed out when they were younger, but treated with morphine, they actually also saw an effect. So that is that morphine on its own impairs memory in some way, which is a really cool concept. But what's really cool about it is that it impairs memory, but not in the stimulus of pain when they're younger. So it's only in very certain circumstances where it will impair memory, in a control certain circumstance. I think it's really interesting of the combination between how your environment really interacts with what's going on inside of you at the same time, and how your upbringing can affect the other choices that you have going on in the future. So that study was really cool. I really liked that, and I kind of wanted to highlight that as the main centerpiece of this video. There were a bunch of other really great posters that I went to talk about. There was one by E.J. Nunes and pro-inflammatory interleukin kinase 1 dosing and the effects on motivation. And basically he told me about this animal model for depression that I didn't know about. And I think it's a fairly standard model. I just didn't know about it for some reason. But basically how it works is in depression you have a patient that it's kind of lacking motivation to do certain things. And the way they try to put it in an animal model is they try to look at reward motivation, reward motivation. Basically, they looked at how a rat's motivation to get a certain larger reward versus a smaller reward. And what they found is that in IL-1 drastically increases depressive-like symptoms in this context, where the depressive-like symptoms is a motivation. And I thought it was a really interesting animal model that I hadn't heard of, and so I'm sharing that with you guys. It's kind of a cool little animal model for depression, where you're looking at a certain symptom of motivation. So another really interesting paper that I liked was selective 5-HT2C agonist eliminates the self-rewarding lever press of methamphetamine in monkeys. So I think the N was 4, so it was a little wishy-washy, and I didn't actually get to talk to the person because they weren't standing by their poster. But it's a really cool idea where you have a very specific receptor that is removing a very, very common effect that you see in mice, monkeys, humans, whoever, where you basically push a lever and you get a little bit of meth. And the fact that you can use an agonist to remove this effect is huge for the development of pharmaceuticals to help potentially prevent addiction. So I thought that was a really cool poster, and I'm really sad that whoever was talking on it wasn't standing by it, because I would have loved to talk to them. A really cool poster I saw was fear conditioning in early life and the effect of fluoxetine on rodent reconditioning in adulthood. And that was by R. Roquetz. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced her name again. And she's from University of Texas, and she's really cool. We had talked. And basically her project was looking at fear conditioning and seeing how long the animal remembers the fear conditioning. And she was looking to see if fluoxetine could reverse that effect. She actually kind of found the opposite. She found that fluoxetine increased freezing behaviors and anxiety-like behaviors after a long period of time. So I thought that was really interesting because I work with fluoxetine and I'm seeing a similar effect. So there's been a lot of papers on fluoxetine anxiety and how it helps anxiety in children, and it would be really interesting to see if it actually doesn't, the animal models we're using, or it actually doesn't in a certain context. So I'm really excited to see where that goes because it's very correlated with my research, so that was kind of cool. Other than that, I think really big trends that I saw this year were a lot of antidepressant posters. There were a lot of antidepressant posters in ketamine and where I was looking, and a lot of people were looking at ketamine in different antidepressant animal models. I didn't see a lot of zebrafish animal modeling for neurotoxicology. I think there were 1 or 2. I saw only about 3 or 4 monkey posters, and those were specifically involved talking about the motor coordination and looking at neuronal mapping of motor coordination. And I'm not exactly interested in, oh, the brain is really cool because it does this really specific thing that, does it in a certain way. I'm really interested in being like, hey, let's figure out how we can take the brain, take certain behaviors, and translate them from people into animal models so that way we can screen pharmaceuticals and we can make it a more efficient system, and how we can learn more about the disease itself, because I'm more of a disease-based scientist, and that's just me. I think there were a lot of people like that there. I think probably about a third of the posters were really animal models of psychiatric or certain diseases, and I think another third were probably like the nitty-gritty moleculars, how the brain functions and how different brain regions affect certain areas of your body. And I think another third was computer stuff, where it all just kind of went over my head and I didn't get it. So I'm not good with neuroimaging and I'm not good with neural mapping, and but I tried to listen, and it was very confusing. So I'm not going to try to relay that confusion to you if you are actually involved in that field. But I can tell you a lot about the animal models they've been developing. I know they developed a pharmaceutical to induce schizophrenia and another pharmaceutical to induce OCD. And they're looking at contrasting that between traditional genetic animal models for that. So I thought that was really cool. And I think there were a lot of posters that kind of talked about that. But anyway, this is going to be a really long video, and I hope that you guys get a lot out of this. And if you want, I'm also going to have a writing section that kind of basically talks about the same sort of thing. If you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, please leave in the comments. And if you want me to go see certain people on certain days because you can't attend, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to see whoever you like, and I'll try to, really get a feel of their research for you. Yeah, and so I'm really happy to be here in San Diego for this conference, and I'm really thankful for SfN for making me one of the official bloggers and vloggers for the conference. So thank you, SfN, and thank you for all the researchers who talked to me today. You guys were awesome. Like, everybody was really nice and really cool. So thank you so much for talking to me, and I'm sure I'll see a lot of you guys tomorrow. So bye!